We just chase the ball.
You ready, John?
We are going.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Um, We only have 20 minutes and I have 82 slides, so I will go through them fairly quickly. I'm glad. That might be an exact, that was actually a hallucination of the number of slides that I have, I'll just tell you. But I do have to get moving. I'm happy to be here and talk about some of the projects that we have going on on artificial intelligence at Oswego. And I know that's been a major focus really of the last few days. So while I'm here presenting, I just want to say that this is the work of many of us, some of us in the room, including Stephanie and John. I don't know if Rick's in the crowd. Actually, he's in another meeting, but Mohammed Tagirpour also. And we had a really outstanding AI discussion at Campus Technology Advisory Board meeting at the end of the school year. And so these were the people who were involved. And really this presentation started as someone had asked the question, what do we have going on in AI on campus? And I gathered these people together and we have a lot going on really. So just to give you an idea, I think our vision of implementing AI on campus to make sure that we do it in a safe and ethical manner. And really, when I look at it, we're going to need to go and to focus on AI in a variety of areas. One is inside the curriculum and research. And what I think actually in the curriculum and research, really we're thinking of the student access and the faculty access, using it in essence in somewhat different ways, but really all at this point learning how to utilize it. We also want to go and look at how we'll be using AI in operations to help us to run the institution, make decision making. And to do that, we'll be really looking at how we can do, and how staff will have access. And then underlying all of this is the infrastructure we're going to be using to use AI. And really, there's so many different tools at this time. I don't think that we really want to go and become overly involved in using one as opposed to the other. So I think at this point, it's a great time of going and learning. So right now, one time when we were talking about AI, really we were talking about what does that mean to AI? And it was actually a computer scientist who asked me. So for them, AI has a different meaning, I think, in the sense of when we're going back and looking at it and developing and doing the computer programming. But at this point for us, what I think we're really looking at how we would use the large language models and the generative AI to implement here on campus. And really, it is a game changer. And the way that it's going and being implemented throughout the world, it's just a whole new speed in terms of where we're going. So why we want to do it, really, it supports our strategic initiatives of student success and to prepare our students for the world that we have in the future workforce. They're going to need to have exposure, understanding of AI. We're looking at how workforce is going to develop in this area and want to make sure that we're ready to go and support the development. And it's also going to be really help support our DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that we have on campus, and be able to provide tools to students of different abilities. And I think when we go back and think of how we implement it, we're going to want to make sure that students have equal access to it, not just the students who want to go and pay some extra money to have it. So that'll be a consideration. So when I think of how we're going to go and implement it, I think what we really want to do is focus on a top-down and bottom-up approach. And we'll have a university level steering committee to bring activities together. Initial people that'll be involved will be the co-creators of this presentation, and we'll look at going and expanding as we need it. But the real work, I think, is done by the working groups. And really, I like to think of it as this coalition of the willing. And we have a number of early adopters on campus. So our goal will be to go in to help and ensure that they have some access to the technology so that they can go and implement. There's also existing work that needs to be done in terms around policy, developing best practices. And there are a number of groups that are already working on. So the associate deans I know are working on updates to the
intellectual integrity.
Thank you. Policy and the academic integrity policy. And then also there's a number of faculty assembly working groups that we can go and help to utilize to focus on things such as policy and the procedures. But we do have some early wins already, I think, to go and build on. If you notice, I have fact squared because that was drummed into us.
That's not the name, but we're working on that.
You had to be at CIT to understand that last week. But I'm glad because it's always been fact two to me. So John and Stephanie have an IITG grant that'll have at least 5 Oswego faculty, and that'll be part of a SUNY-wide team. But we want to go and augment that and add about 15 more faculty to our cohort and really offer opportunity for probably about 20 people to go and to work together and in essence go and be at the leading edge of implementing AI in their fields, because AI is going to mean something different almost in every single field that you look at. So that'll be led by there'll be a SUNY component to it, and SUNY, when I say SUNY, it's really fact two, I think. And then
It was an IITG grant that
Yeah.
we were part of.
yeah.
Yep.
So, and then Center for Excellent Learning teams for John and Stephanie, there'll be a small stipend, and then we're looking at people having access to the appropriate AI resources, whatever that might be. Do you want to add some more on that,
Yeah,
John?
basically, as
Stephanie?
part of it, each person will be required to redesign their courses to include at least some AI component and write that up and share it along with that from the other 4 or 5 campuses at least that are going to be participating in this. Stephanie, you want to?
No, I think that was pretty good. Our John and I's aim in all of this is to just kind of like guide and offer additional resources and also offer opportunities for people to have conversations about this, because it is something that's changing a lot. And I think everybody has a lot of questions. So that's John and I just are kind of meant to hopefully be helpful.
And we're going to have all the faculty meet once a month, and we may have to do that in a few groups to work with the times that work for faculty. And then we'll also be meeting with the other coordinators across the other campuses. In fact, we have a meeting on August 5th of all the coordinators to kick this whole thing off. In addition to that, we also have that reading group on teaching with AI, and we're going to encourage the faculty participating in this to also join that reading group. And we've got quite a few people in that reading group already.
Thanks, John and Stephanie. So there has been a lot of early work done on campus already. And the initials there are the people that I already mentioned earlier. And the second edition of the Fact to Optimizing AI in Higher Education just came out last week, as was announced. And actually, I'll share my slides because there's a link to that document is what I have there. And there are really a number of groups doing early work. And I know there's a few librarians on here that are joining us, and they've written some articles. They've created an evaluative rubric. Business is doing some work. I got another slide on that in a second. Writing across the curriculum is doing work, and I think in business, they had a symposium in November last year. They have a couple of new courses that they've offered. They're looking to do micro credentials, and they've done some presentations at different universities. And really, there's been a lot of presentations and focus really by John and Stephanie in particular, but a number of people in terms of going and really meeting the needs and giving people opportunity to learn more. I've been asked if we've used any tools, and we've used the tool Ask Oz on campus, which is a program from EdSites that we use with our current students, and it's a chat bot that goes and really ask students how they're doing around 4 different areas in particular, which is how are they doing academically, how's your mental health, how's your financial ability, and there's a 4th item that it really focuses on. And it goes, and we've developed, we worked with the company EdSites that went and developed these questions, and it helps us to do really early detection of students that might need some help. The real magic to me is how we go and take that information and then go follow up with those students and see how we can best help them. And we do have a really strong team, I think, that does that student support. The picture that I have here is an article that was in the Washington Post just a couple weeks ago on the product and how it's really kind of grown. We were probably one of the first 10 schools to go and implement, but now they have a couple hundred customers, and they just actually moved the platform that they're running it on onto ChatGPT 4.0 just in the last few weeks. So when I think of how we're going to go and implement, we will certainly have some needs on campus. So we're going to need policy on how it's going to be used and where it fits in, both into the curriculum, but I think, and what I think of best practices, it's around what kind of information we're putting into the open chat bots versus a closed chat bot. We don't have a closed chat bot at this point, although I'd love if we did at some point, which takes us to the infrastructure. And at this point, I know John and Stephanie ran a number of workshops really over just yesterday, right? Showing people the different applications and choices that they have, because there are a whole series of tools. But we've also got people that are going and in Rick Buck's team, we're going and developing our own little AI chatbots that have APIs back and using it to go and see how we can use, what are the probabilities students are going to melt? Can we go in and engage with students to go into, help with enrollment? And are there still more students that we can go and focus on to bring? So in terms of infrastructure, it is all these different set of tools, and which ones should we be using and which ones are appropriate. And then there's the whole skills development component of it, the people that are showing up at the training, but I think of our programmers that are going and learning how to use it and how this can be a personal assistant to them. And all of the staff. And really, I think it's so early in the development, people need to have access to it to go and understand how it really pertains to the work that they do.
And you mentioned the workshops we did yesterday. We also have 4 more coming up on Monday. Stephanie and I are doing 3 of those, and then we have 2 visitors coming in online from GCC. Judy Littlejohn and Lloyd Gross will be redoing a workshop that they did at the AI Symposium last week in Buffalo on AI graphics, creating graphics in AI.
And yesterday's, if you missed them, they're all available on video, so people can go back and look at them. So our goal to help students is at least get about 100 licenses for the AI chatbot access. At first we were thinking ChatGPT, but I think we'll go back and we'll examine and see what's appropriate. I think it would be largely driven by who's involved in the projects that you have around the Fact 2 projects and what tools people are looking to use that. There's a student AI prompt engineering club that started, and Mohammed is going to be their faculty advisor. Mohammed Tadfurpour, who is a professor in business. And I'd say at this point, we're really open to all the areas of AI usage for faculty and staff, just because it is so new of a product. And there's lots of spring breakouts and targeted training that you talked about. And there is training for subject matter experts in administration and advice, so they can see how the tool can be used in their area. I know that the associate deans are working on an update of the academic integrity policy. We'll need more policy, as I mentioned before, particularly with respect to privacy and what information should be in, and then best practices to support a policy. So I'm talking there about syllabus, and I know that there are, I think, business might have some, but the instructional designers, suggested comments or directions that should be in syllabus for campus. And we really don't have a spot to go and to collect them. So as we go and think about, having this committee and working on it, we need really a website to go and to contain this information and to share it. So that'll be easy for people to go and to find. And there we're open to the new technologies. We're focusing on a few, but we'll have to see what bubbles up. And there you go, 2:18. And we changed room and I finished in 20 minutes. Every other time I took 50 minutes, but I don't know if there's any
questions,
comments, cries of anguish.
When will faculty be able to apply to be in your cohort?
Soon. But we should be doing that soon, so we could get that put together. We'll have to see how many we end up with, and if we get more people wanting to join, then we have funding available. We'll have to come up with some criteria. One thing we did when we had a similar project way back with that iPad project was to have the assistant or the associate deans or the deans of each group make recommendations on which faculty, from their division should be included.
Yeah, we have meetings with the other contributors to the grant next week and the following week, and in hopes to lead up to, like we have John, like John mentioned, he and I have a day-long training event in Oneonta in August to really hash out the whole thing. But we are going to be meeting pretty regularly between now and then to start figuring out some of those questions.
We will send out an email with a call for that as soon as the plans are together. And the reading group signups are open now, so feel free to join them.
And that's a reading group that starts in the fall?
That starts in the fall. Yep. It'll be every other week, interspersed with the reading group on equity-minded instruction.
So I am going to put my I'm going to put my slides in the chat in case anybody wants to see them.
Everyone's awfully quiet online.
True.
They are. Oh, thanks, Anna. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I got IT steering next.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you.
You guys have done. Thanks, everyone.
We've got lots more workshops tomorrow.